What's going on, everybody? It is betPARX Presents Stick to Hockey Live, episode 32. Bill Meltzer going to join us in just a moment from PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. Talk about all things Flyers. Also, another edition of Tone's Takes today. Tone will give you some plays, where to put your money, and we'll get a lot to get into today on betPARX Presents Stick to Hockey Live. This is a good time for you to grab the new betPARX app, especially with Tone coming on, because Tone's going to give you great places to put your dough. It's exciting. The new app is so good, and it's so easy to use. Well, the other one was easy to navigate and everything. This one's even better, and it's just awesome. So you're going to love it. Make sure you download the new app. It's the betPARX Casino and Sportsbook app. It's now live. So if you have the old one, get rid of the old one and download the new one, log in, and you can get all the great features from the old one and more. It's everything you want in a mobile casino and sports book, and it's right in the palm of your hand, right in your pocket. So check it out. It's easy to sign up if you don't have an account, easy to use, and faster to win than ever before. It's the new betPARX app. And like you see that little X at the bottom left of the screen there, that's kind of what you're looking for. That's the app. That's when you know you got the right one. And I'll show it to you as well on my phone because it's so simple to use and you're going to love using it. So it looks like that as it's opening up for me right now. So check out the betPARX app. And right now, betPARX users will have the choice of either a $20 casino bonus or a $20 free sports bet. So just download it, open it, check it out, get used to it. And you can download the all-new betPARX app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So Bill Meltzer will join us just a minute. Like I said, Tone, another edition of Tone's Takes. Tone's got some plays for you for this Thursday. Good place to put some of that hard-earned cash and make it grow. That's what Tone does. He makes money grow. He's a money grower, as they say. And he's got some cool plays this week once again. I believe he's got 5 plays this week. So we'll get to Tone's Takes coming up. The trade deadline's in the rear view. Claude Giroux going to make his debut tonight for the Florida Panthers. In fact, last night I watched on YouTube, his introductory press conference with Florida. And the whole thing it still seems just bizarre or weird or something. But the Flyers move forward. And, they had the game the other night on, Tuesday against the Detroit Red Wings, lost 6-3. I got to talk to Bill about this. When to pull the goaltender. It just felt a little early for me. 3-minute mark. And the Flyers just had a couple of good scoring chances on the 5-on-5. I did some research on when teams are pulling goaltenders in the NHL, and it has gotten earlier and earlier, kind of since 2000. And about the 3-minute mark is when a lot of teams start pulling their goalie. I just think that feels a little early to me. And I think there's a feel that has to go along with it as well. And when you have a couple of scoring chances at 5-on-5 late in the game and you're down a goal, to me, you got to be a little bit more conservative in that spot. Plus, when you pull the goalie, the people on the ice have to recognize it, and it becomes a possession game immediately. First of all, you have an extra player out there, so it's obviously a possession game. And if you lose the puck, you've got to pressure the puck post haste. Like, you got to pressure the puck right away. And Flyers didn't do that. And, they pulled the goalie with like 3 minutes to go. And then at 3:09, they give up an empty net goal. Now you're down 2. So it seemed a little bizarre to me. But let's get to the man right now. I want to talk about that and some other things with Bill Meltzer from NHL.com, HockeyBuzz.com, and PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. He joins us on betPARX Presents Stick to Hockey Live. And Bill, it felt a little early to me. First of all, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I'm just kind of riffing about this pulling the goalie thing. And I've done a bunch of research, and I know teams are pulling the goalie earlier than ever before. But when it happened the other night, it felt too early to me, and it didn't feel like the players were ready for it or aware of it.
Yeah, but I mean, it seemed like players in the ice weren't aware that Hart wasn't in the net anymore. Just based on how easily the Flyers gave up the ice.
Yeah, you got to pressure the puck right away when you lose it with the goalie out.
Yeah, I mean, they were just treating it like a dump in, and oops, goalie's not there, so he just guides it into the net, and then all of a sudden you're down by 2. Yeah, the timing of it seems strange. I mean, I guess it's one of those things that if it works out, it looks great, and if you give up a goal 9 seconds later, it looks awful, right?
Yeah.
But I think strategically it was odd, if only for the fact that the Flyers had some momentum.
Yep.
There's still 3 minutes to go. And if you just look at the Flyers, really almost total lack of success with the goalie pulled. They've scored twice and they've given up, well, now 17 at the time, 19 now.
Wow.
I think you might just wait till the final 90 seconds for that reason too. Hey, at that point, just total desperation, and the one bounces, it bounces. So, it definitely seemed odd. It blew up quickly. And the funny thing is that the Flyers, of course, they're playing St. Louis tonight, and the last time the Flyers played St. Louis, it was the same thing. Flyers were down by 1 goal, and they lost. I think they lost an offensive zone faceoff, and 6 seconds later, it was in their net.
Yeah,
and
too fast.
And nobody was ready for it. It was like nobody knew how to handle the play.
Yeah,
and so almost they pull the goalie again, and they give up another. They give up another pretty non-competitive empty net goal, so they lose by 3 instead of by 1. And last, that was almost not the same plays, but too close of a repeat. It's been when I did the 5 things preview on PhiladelphiaFlyers.com today, part of what I looked at in the inside the numbers section is just how bad it's been closing out games or getting closed out.
Yeah.
If you remember, Jason, we were talking about how Flyers had second period woes really up through the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Well, now their worst period in the game has been third periods. And a big part of that reason, of course, is all the empty net goals they've allowed. Once they're down, they're not coming back.
Yeah, the thing is too, like you saw the one in Ottawa, like that was a 200-foot empty net goal out of the corner, and I go, okay, that'll happen. I don't love pulling the goalie early too when you're on the power play, because the punishment's not there for the other team because they can ice the puck, and if they miss the net, there's no punishment because
it's defeat. So
it's not coming back into your zone for a face-off, and you get to dictate which side of the ice. It's all that stuff. So I don't love doing that either, but teams are pulling their goalies earlier and earlier than ever before. And to me, what you're doing when you're not a team that's good at it, and the Flyers are not good at it, not good at a lot of things, but that's one of those things where you're shortening the game for the opposition in a 1-goal game, and that's what they want.
Yeah, I mean that's because they're literally one shot. They're literally one shot on goal away from padding the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you happen to get, it won't go as a shot on goal. But unless somebody just happens to dive in front of it or block it or sweep it away from the goal line or something, it's only for so long. Even if you're playing, even if you're playing up a man, until the other side is going to be able to clear the zone and get something on your net. And as you said, in a power play, fire at will, because if you miss, there's no downside to it. So I'm not a big fan of pulling the goalie with several minutes, unless you're down by 2. If you're down by 2, then go for it. Particularly if you've scored within the last few to reduce, 3-2. Maybe you have a little momentum. Maybe you get another one. To me, it's the difference between a 2-goal deficit versus 1. But for me, if you're down by a goal, I don't see a reason to do it until the final 90 seconds.
Yeah, down multiple goals, it's like nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah. But down 1, it's like, now we're down 2, and there's 3 minutes or 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go. So it doesn't make much sense to me. Bill, did you watch the introductory press conference of Claude Giroux with Florida?
I did. Yes.
Did it just feel like weird?
It felt very odd. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's going to look out of place with him in any other uniform but a Flyers uniform for a while. Even watching the playoffs this year, it's just going to seem strange, right?
Yeah.
But even seeing a little bit of practice footage, right, where he's there and he's joking around with Barkov and whatever, it felt surreal, a little.
Yeah.
And there's also a reminder as to how things have gone this season with the Flyers, because in a lot of ways, go in, you're hoping and you're thinking it wasn't going to be that way, right?
Yeah. He mentioned that quite a bit. The thing is in his press conference, I still got this vibe from him that he still felt conflicted about the decision to leave. Like he talked about being excited and going after the cup, but I could still sense conflict. I sound like Darth Vader. I can sense the conflict within you, but it still felt like he was conflicted about leaving or heartbroken or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, being a Flyer, it was the only thing he'd ever known, right? And
yeah,
and you go all the way back to, working up to playing for the Flyers, right? The 2006 draft. So he's been part of the organization, including the 2 years before he really debuted. You know what? For 18 years at that point, it's a long time in one organization. I can understand. I can understand feeling pulled in different directions. Plus I guess his family, he and his family will rent something in South Florida, but it's different. It's a big change.
Yeah, it really is, and we'll see him tonight. He'll make his debut against Montreal, and we'll see what that team can do. But Bill, a lot of Flyer fans, I'm still seeing it on social media, are clamoring for the return of Giroux. You and I respect his game to a very high degree, and appreciate the nuance of his game and every element of it. But I think that the organization needs to move forward without him, whether he wants to come back or not. I just think it's better to turn the page completely and move forward at this point.
I agree. For one thing, just as one thing, without even getting into the whole human dynamics of it, the cap savings that the Flyers have in Giroux not coming back, most likely, right? Well, when you add in Sean Couturier's raise and Joel Farabee's raise, because he gets a big bump up next year, that covers most of Giroux's salary, actually.
Yep.
So the Flyers are going to have to find other ways to upgrade the roster. You don't want to just run back with what you've been running back. I'm talking about if something could have been agreed to with Giroux. Now, of course, you have to replace Giroux, and how you do that, I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
a different question. Yeah.
They had to figure out the cap side of it. They certainly had to figure out the hockey side of it. But in order to move forward, what's even fair to the player at this point? I mean, a hometown discount, sure. How much of a hometown discount, right? I mean, and I remember, if you remember the year that Jaromir Jagr spent with the Flyers, where for probably till about 2/3 of the way through the season, all the talk was Jagr loves it here. He's gonna extend. Now this is a guy who was just here for 1 year, but it's coming to a point. And then by the end, Jagr was, he moved on. Why did he move on? Because the latter part of the season, Peter Laviolette took him off of the first power play unit.
Mm-hmm.
Moved a very young Jake Voracek onto the first unit. Some later game situations where Jagr had been out there all year. All of a sudden he wasn't out there, and that maybe the empty net goal situation. And I mean, I remember talking to him. I was on the interview call when he went to Dallas. He said, I'm not I'm not ready to take a secondary role yet. One of the things that I thought I was staying there was that I was playing a key role and I was enjoying it. And then it kind of seemed like I wasn't going to be doing that anymore. And I think the same thing with Claude a little bit. One of the reasons he goes, in Florida, he's playing right up on the first line, right, with Barkov. Now, in order to move forward, could the Flyers still base a team largely around Claude Giroux, running your power play, playing 18, 20 minutes a game? That's the role Giroux's always played. Would he be happy taking a secondary role here, particularly when he, things didn't go awry because of him. I mean, and it was, largely he was one of the big positives, despite all the other stuff that was going on. But in order to take the next steps as an organization, I think you have to do it with different key players, and that's that's where I see, I don't think Claude is ready to take on quite that secondary role yet, and so therefore I don't know if the Flyers are the right fit anymore. I think they need to find other main guys, and where they're going to find them, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too is, now that he is gone, there's a vacuum of space there for other players to step into roles, leadership roles, where when he's present, you go, well, why didn't you step into a leadership role when he was there? Well, he was there. So when you have the vacuum that happens, now all of a sudden there is all this real estate for leadership to be provided by other players because he's not there. It's nothing against him, but if he comes back, then that almost goes away again. And you don't want that. You want players to step up, feel more vested, be a leader, be one of the voices inside that room. But you're right. They need to create cap space because they need to get some things done of real substance this offseason. JVR is a guy that is obvious that there's just I mean, if you're handicapping this, Bill, is it a 95% chance that his contract's not on the books in some way, shape, or form next year? Not sure which way, but some way.
Yeah, I mean, either buyout or I mean, I honestly, from a hockey standpoint, I know you take a cap hit and there's a consequence of the year after that, but I don't think they want another ghost situation where you're giving up picks just to
dig a hole in the desert.
Yeah, just dig a hole in the desert, get a little cap relief too. So I don't see the Flyers going that route again. So I think they'll go the buyout route. And I don't see them being able to trade him unless he really closes with the rush, and then maybe some team goes, there's 1 year left in the contract. Philly eats half of it. We could do a year, 3.5 for us, 3.5 for them, maybe. He would have.
Isn't the real money only 3.8 though?
Yeah. I'm just talking about cap hit wise.
Cap hit wise, okay.
Cap hit wise, yeah. Because even with the real dollar, the cap hit would be split.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Flyers would. Yeah, but the Flyers would have to eat have to eat their half of it. So the real dollar actually, and it's I don't know. I mean, but it's I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if JVR was on the team come opening night.
I know people want to keep bringing up Ghost because he's got a lot of points this year. I had a guy tell me the other day on Twitter that board battles are meaningless when evaluating a player. I almost shit my pants when he said that. And because I was like, how are you going to tell me that a board battle is meaningless when evaluating a hockey player? Like, if I've ever found a coach that believed the board battles weren't a highly evaluative tool, I mean, that's like, you got to be kidding me, right? Because I cited the guy doesn't win board battles, and he's like, that's not a stat that matters. I'm like, what?
Yeah, so right. Anytime you put the puck behind him, the puck was as good as lost. I mean,
because he's not going to win the battle.
There were things that Ghost did well, including defensively. Right, he was pretty good in neutral zone defense because he has a quick stick.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd poke check guys before they would get to the blue line. Once the puck was in your zone, until you were back on the attack, it was a liability on the ice. Yeah. Still is, will always be. Players have some things they're good at, some things they're not good at. And while I do think he worked over his career to lessen that a little bit, the point being, when the puck is over, the puck is in your zone, you hold your breath with Ghost on the ice. Now when you're attacking, obviously then he became an asset. And when he's healthy and you're attacking, he's a significant asset. But there's a reason why he was waived and nobody claimed him. There's a reason why the Flyers really tried to entice Seattle to take him in the expansion draft, and they weren't biting. And there's a reason why the Flyers offered him around in the offseason prior to basically biting the bullet with the trade they made with Arizona, and they didn't find any takers.
Yeah,
it's he had the injury history, he has the defensive liabilities. Now this year he's been healthy and putting up a lot of points. He probably would have put up points here too, had he stayed healthy and been here this year. I don't think the team would have been in a much better place. They'd still struggle to keep the puck out of their net. I don't think look at Arizona's power play, right? It's at the bottom of the league, right with the Flyers. Yeah. So it's not like Ghost has miraculously changed things there. It's all about the team. Always all about the team and all about the mix. And so I don't think it was the right mix, and still not the right mix.
Well, the other element that doesn't get talked about with him is coachability, because there was a lot of coaches that came through here that. And everybody's like the revisionist thing is, well, they never used him correctly. Hack didn't use him correctly. Scott Gordon didn't use him. Rick Wilson. But when Rick Wilson left, I mean, he had some pretty terse things to say about Ghost. And he didn't have a vested interest in Ghost, but there was a coachability issue with the player as well.
Right. And
playing his own game.
That set off some alarm bells, because there's hardly more of a player's coach you'll ever find than Rick Wilson.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of coach who will say, okay, I'd like you to try it my way. If you're not comfortable with that, we'll find another way that'll work. And they had a hard time getting on the same page and working together. And it was Rick Wilson, and it was and before that it was Gordon Murphy, right? And I mean, at a certain point, it's okay. Well, and different head coaches too, and with very different three very different personalities.
Yeah,
between Hack and Scott Gordon, and Lane Vigneault. And so if you're not on the same page with any of them, I don't know, that does raise some question marks about coachability. And I know, you know, and I think Ghost had a point in saying that his confidence came from his offensive game and everything else
Sure.
came from that. And I get that, right? And I'll tell you that all my own dealings with Shane were positive ones. I had a good rapport with him as a reporter covering a player. So I liked Shane, and he was a fun player to watch, especially when he was going well. But I don't think he was the right player for the team mix anymore. And certainly they haven't replaced him, because Gustafson certainly didn't replace him, and the Keith Yandel situations here certainly hasn't worked out for the Flyers either. So they're still back at the drawing board trying to find someone to play that role, and hopefully that'll be Cam York.
Yeah, he's. What is your estimation on how he's played on that right side? Because to me, he's been better than I thought he would be on that right side. I don't want to say he's been great, but he's been very steady. I don't see any issues there.
Yeah, I think he's adjusting really well.
Yeah, honestly. I do too.
And since they put him up with Provorov as opposed to the third pairing, I think he's taken the next step in it. I'm actually confident if he stays there that he can make that adjustment and be okay.
So you would be okay with him being a right side guy as a left shot, or is that not particularly ideal? But you can
not ideal. Not ideal. I mean, that's. If you have to go that way, you go that way. Hopefully you have Ryan Ellis back next year, healthy, and that still is. Of all the question marks hanging over this team, to me, that still is one of the real big ones, because, first of all, there's no absolute confirmation as to what the exact injury is.
Yeah.
We've heard stuff. We've talked to people. We've heard stuff. Oh, well, it's one of those combination core muscle things that it's hard to describe as one specific thing. And it can present in the hip, but it's really a groin. Da, 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 da. So it's one of those complicated to figure out how to treat things. But still, I'd like to know the exact nature. And here we are getting late into March. I'd like to know what the final treatment plan is going to be. And I know they're saying they're finalizing a decision, but I think that once you're getting to about 6 months before training camp, I think it's really important to make that decision, whatever that decision is.
Yeah, Bill, the amazing thing is I had Chuck on Flyers Daily the other day after the deadline, and he basically said they're still not resolute on if he's going to have surgery or not. No. I mean, this is a player that hasn't played a game since early November.
Right.
And it seems like it's some sort of state secret what's going on here.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
With Couturier, okay, once they said he's having surgery, he's shut down for the season. Yep. They said what it was. They said what it was with Kevin Hayes. And it stayed very nebulous with Ryan Ellis, a guy who, how many eggs did the Flyers put in that basket as being a guy who's going to come in and play 22, 23 minutes a night, play in every situation. And yes, he's played one game since early. He hasn't played since early November, rather. And he's only played one game since the first 10 days of the season. He played the first 3, and then he didn't play again until the one game in Dallas that he came back, and he's been out ever since. I think more. We need some clarity here, and part of that clarity is, okay, is this going to be a guy you're going to have to replace this offseason? Is he going to be a guy who ends up in long-term injury reserve next year? And it concerns me when it's and I know there's never any guarantees, right? But the hope is he's ready for the start of next season. Well, the hope is also he stays healthy next season too. Yeah. You cannot have, again, what happened this season. You have to be able to count on him, and if you can't count on him, you have to think, what's the contingency?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're looking for a replacement at forward for Giroux in a lot of ways, but you don't know if you're also looking for now a replacement for Ryan Ellis. And you got to wonder where his head is at this point too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he was a guy that seemed like really stunned when he got moved. Like Cam Atkinson was like, yeah, I got moved. Awesome. Yeah, gritty. The whole, I was like, all right, that's interesting. But Ellis was like, whoa, and hasn't been able to assimilate with his teammates. I mean, he's played 4 games, and you got to just wonder where his head is. He bought into this situation. Does he want to be a part of a team that is in this situation that they're in? I mean, you can't be watching this and going, I can't wait to come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, his unavailability is a significant part of why they're in this situation.
Exactly.
which is, I mean, it's not Alice's fault, but it's also the truth,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I mean, it was strange because right before the Flyers played I found Ryan to be, in during training camp and leading up. I mean, he was pleasant and and decent guy, but he was pretty guarded.
Yeah.
And right before he came back against the game, they took the road trip. They had the game in Dallas. He was almost giddy that day. He was really in a good mood. He seemed very positive and very upbeat. And then he gets hurt the first game back, and then he went right back into day to day, and somehow day to day became all season.
Yeah, that's just bizarre.
It's very strange, and I think clarity is needed again. And it's a concern going forward as to whether he wants to be part of it, or whatever. Well, I mean, he'd be in a situation where he could be of significant help if he's healthy. So that's
Right.
you look at it that way too. But it's I don't know, that to me is a black cloud that's still hanging over this season and hanging over the off season until there's more of a plan that's articulated.
And that being said, they traded 2 black clouds for him. And Phil Myers gets waived and does not get claimed, ends up with the Marlies, and we know about Nolan Patrick and just again dealing with head injuries. This is like the Bermuda Triangle of players, like these 3 guys, and it is what it is. Bill, let me ask you about a couple of players in particular. I saw Alex Appleyard put this tweet out yesterday, and he said since Mike Yeo came in, Farabee is on a 65-point pace. Konecny playing at a 63-point pace, Lindblom at a 42, and Sanheim at a 42. I know we don't feel like Mike Yeo is going to be the next head coach of this team, but important for those 4 players to finish these remaining games, 19 games, whatever it is, very strong and head into the offseason feeling pretty good. And even though Konechny's not scoring, he is playing well, and he is setting up a lot of plays.
He's piling up the assists.
He really is.
Yeah. So it kind of, assist streaks kind of sneak up on you a little bit sometimes, particularly if it's the guy you're talking about. Oh, well, he's still stuck on 10 goals for the season.
Yeah, he's not as heralded.
No, it isn't unless he's a prolific assist guy. Well, he's become a guy who's putting up a ton of assists, and that's fine. I mean, if he can get 20 goals a year, get back to that kind of a pace, and continue scoring, 40 assists, which we'll get this year, and then you got a guy who's playing in the top end of your lineup. Farabee gets a bit of a mulligan just because of all the time he missed with the 2 shoulder injuries, and now he's back. Now he's back playing his game again. So he's compiling the points. To me, Jason, the other big positive in the last few weeks, even though the wins have still been, sparse or intermittent, it's been Kevin Hayes. Kevin Hayes,
he looks way different.
Looks like himself again, and that's if you talk about positives in recent months, that's one of the big ones.
Yeah, his mobility, and again, important for him to finish off the season really well, heading into the off season, getting his body where he needs it. Same thing, Carter Hart hasn't fought injury this year, Bill, but he's a guy that if he can finish this campaign strong, boy, I think he heads into a really, really good spot from moving forward with the way he's played this year and bounce back.
Yeah, the Flyers are basically 17th, 18th in save percentage, but they're 26th in goals against. That tells you the goaltending has been better than the team playing in front of them. And I think last game is a good case. The game in Florida and last game are a good case in point. He let in 4. Well, which one of those was he going to stop? Not one of them. Not one of them was what you call a fair chance of making a save, and that's going to pull a save percentage right down, and elevate the goals against average. And the difference between the goalies in the top teams and the ones and teams at the bottom, and it reflects also in save percentage, is they're not, the team in front of them is giving them a chance more consistently to make saves. Every goalie is going to let in some that they either should have had or fall in that category of, well, it wasn't an easy save, but it was one that you would like to get a save on. And so much of that is tied into the team play, in front, just the number of those that are going to happen over a season. For Carter Hart to be at 9.10 and has been over 9.10 most of the time, that's really I would say that that his save percentage would be a full 1% to 1.5% higher. So that's you're talking about 920 to 925 if he had a top defensive team in front of him, or even a decent defensive team in front of him. So over the course of a whole season. So I think that's another positive this year too. The goaltending has been a good thing, finished strong, and that's one less thing you have to worry about going into next year.
One of the guys that wasn't moved at the deadline, obviously, was Jones, but the Flyers dealing with depth issues at the goaltender position, and Urson's dealing with an injury. Ustimenko has been banged up. I mean, Sandstrom's been banged up. You just couldn't trade a guy and kind of make it through unless you got a goaltender in return.
Yeah, and that's and so nobody would be in the market looking for a goalie, a backup goalie, number 2 guy for the playoffs, unless possibly Florida. I thought Florida just because they want Spencer Knight playing.
Yeah,
they don't want him backing up Bob, and so they have Johansson. I thought, oh well, maybe, but listen, this was a pretty acrimonious trade negotiation with Giroux. I don't think they were about to just jump into another trade with one another. The Flyers could have gotten a later round pick for Jones, but they weren't going to get a later round pick plus a goalie with a little bit of NHL experience as backup. And I know some people have said, well, just grab a body. Well, you can't just grab a body, a non-NHL goalie, and go out and ask your team to compete at an NHL level. And you're still going to need the number 2 guy for about another 5 games this season.
Yeah,
just
you got 18, 19, 20. Yeah.
So I don't think that's it. If you're trying to send a message about reframing the culture and going out and playing the right way and trying to win, then I don't think you go with a guy who's in it strictly an AHL goalie. You need a little bit better. And with Sandstrom, besides having some injury issues this year, he's needed for the what's kind of an uphill playoff push for the Phantoms.
Yeah.
And he's been a little inconsistent himself too. So I don't think he's I don't think he's necessarily earned an extended look in the NHL. The downside though is that he's a Group 6 free agent this summer, so he could he's unrestricted potentially.
Yeah, and how they move forward. And I think it's incredibly unlikely that you move forward with Carter Hart and Felix Sandstrom as a tandem next year. I think you're looking in that veteran field again, and maybe it's Martin Jones again. Who knows? Or there'll be guys out there, that's for sure. Bill, as always, we'll see if the Flyers can get a win tonight on the road, their first of 2022. With these next 6 opponents, how about this? St. Louis, Colorado, back-to-back. Then you head to Nashville, and then you head to Minnesota. Then you come home to take on Toronto. Then you get the Rangers before you get Columbus back home. Boy, what a tough schedule.
Yeah. You have a lot of teams in there that have something to play for, and the Flyers have the proverbial playing for pride in jobs. It's tough. So it's see what they can do, I guess.
Yeah. Bill, thanks for doing this as always. Read Bill's stuff on NHL.com, PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. Stay well, brother.
You too, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, there he is, Bill Meltzer, and joining us on this episode of betPARX Presents Stick to Hockey Live, and it is that time. We do this every Thursday. We do a little something we like to call Tones Takes. And there he is. What's going on, Tone?
Hey, what's up, Jason? How you doing?
Not much. I'm doing good and just trying to make it through the rest of this season and get to the playoffs. I know the Flyers aren't in the playoffs, but like the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs are so much fun that I just can't wait.
Yeah, I was watching the Calgary-Vancouver game on Saturday night, and like the first 10 minutes of that game, Calgary they got blown out by Vancouver. A couple weeks before that. The way they just came out, it just reminded me of like playoff hockey. So yeah, I'm waiting there. I can't wait myself.
That I think that Calgary team can possibly take out Colorado in the West.
I do too. They're built for it, and they're built for the playoffs. The Foley signing was huge for them.
Yep.
If Markstrom holds up, which I think he should. I mean, they have Sutter as the coach. Like they are primed for a run.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Maybe
they're
a
better in
Canadian
net.
team will finally, maybe a Canadian team will finally win a cup. We'll see, right?
Oh, it's been so long since '93, and one
Yep.
of the last Canadian teams to get there. I mean, prior to last year. I mean, obviously Montreal gets to the final last year in that weird circumstance, but Calgary's one of those teams that back in '04 loses to Tampa. That Jerome
Yep.
McGinley team versus the Le Cavalier Marty
Yeah.
St. Louis Tampa Bay
Great
Lightning.
series. Great
Oh, it
series
was.
that was.
Yeah, Le Cavalier and Iginla went at it in that. They had a scrap in
They
that
did.
series.
Yep.
That's one dude I'm not messing with Jerome McGinley. No thanks.
No way.
Tone, let's get to the picks. Play number one. You like the LA Kings here, 3-way, -115. Kings are a shock team here, second place in the Pacific, 3 points up on Edmonton, coming off that big 6-1 win over Nashville on Tuesday. And Chicago's on a back-to-back where they're 2-5-3. You like the Kings here?
Yeah, I like the Kings. They handle business at home. Like you said, they're a surprise team this year. They're hanging around still, second in the division. Have a little, some injuries with Doughty and Arvidsson who have affected them recently, but they've won 2 out of their last 3 home games. I like the Kings to take care of business tonight. Chicago, they just, they traded Fleury. They're kind of like, selling off the rest of the season. Delia might go tonight in net. Lankinen's okay, but Delia's much more of a drop off. So even if Lankinen still goes, I like the Kings here at home in regulation.
Yeah, and Los Angeles, they did a nice job recoiling that team. Really have, and we'll see what they're able to do in the playoffs as they make the return to the postseason. And you're right, with Fleury gone now, there's a lot of noise around Chicago with Kane and Taves not being happy,
and with the Hagel trade too. I mean, how about that trade? He's a young guy too. Like I couldn't believe what they got back for him. Taves wasn't too happy about it. So.
Yeah, he was critical of that. Let's stay out west and take a look at San Jose and Edmonton here. Over 6 in this game, -120.
Yeah, the Sharks are scoring the past 3 games. They scored 11 goals. Edmonton has scored 27 goals over their last 5 home games. I mean, they're always a threat to score at home. They get Ryan Nugent-Hopkins back tonight, which, should help them depth-wise. Capo Kakinen's going in goal. If Reimer was in this game, maybe I would stay off of it. He's just one of those guys I don't like to bet against because he can pull out 40 saves any day. But with Kakinen going, I think this game's going to go over 6. So.
All right, so San Jose, Edmonton over 6 on the total, and let's go with a former San Jose Shark and Evander Kane over 3.5 shots on goal. You like tonight as a player prop?
Yeah, +130. I mean, he's hit this in 64% of his home games with Edmonton, as opposed to only 21% on the road. I mean, that discrepancy right there. At +130 against his old team. He played them in San Jose earlier this year, and he had 4. So I think he can do that again tonight. So definitely taking the value in that one.
All right, so you got Kane over 3.5 shots on goal at +130. Good plus money there. Let's look at Montreal and Florida. A lot of Flyer fans will be looking to this game because it's the debut of Giroux. But you like the over total in this game?
Yeah, over 6.5. We mentioned it last week. The Habs are scoring goals under St. Louis. 13 out of their last 14 now. I believe that they've scored 3+ goals.
Wow.
They're still giving up goals at 3.22. Florida is a threat to score anywhere, anytime, anyhow. I think we're going to see some more goals in this game tonight.
And one of the guys that could be in on it, and I love this plus money play here at +270, Giroux with a power play point in his debut. We know he's on that top line. He's going to get power play time as well. So you like Giroux here to +270?
Yeah, by now I'm not afraid to lay the plus money on some of these plays and take a shot. He's playing on that first power play unit. Listen to this first power play unit. It's Giroux, it's Huberdeau, it's Reinhart, it's Markov, and it's Duclair. That's what their projected first power play line is going to be tonight. Ekblad's hurt, out with the injury, so we're going with the 5 forwards. Looks like. Yeah. Now I use Daily Faceoff to get this information, so according to them, that's their first power play line tonight, which is insane. That's like an all-star lineup right there. Habs have the eighth worst home penalty kill. Florida has 7 power play goals over their last 10 games. I mean, Drew's going to be playing the point on this power play. How can you not take a shot at this one? So. Yeah,
he's going to be the facilitator as the point man. So that's got assist written all over it to me. And I mean, boy, that boy's just those guys. That's skill on the ice. He'll be snapping it around, getting great scoring chances.
Yep.
Unreal. So, all right, we got 5 plays on Tone's takes. Here they are. Here's the recap for you. Number 1, you like the first play is the LA Kings in a 3-way minus 115. You got San Jose and Edmonton over 6, the total here at minus 120. We also have Vander Kane over 3.5 shots on goal at plus money at plus 130. Montreal and Florida over the 6.5 total at minus 110. And then you got Giroux with a power play point here at plus 270. Great stuff, Tone. Enjoy the next couple of days. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
There he is. Tone's Takes, another edition in the books. As good stuff there. Good 5 plays from Tone for Tone's Takes. And a great place to put it will be on the betPARX app, because you got to get it. You got to check out the brand new app. betPARX is the new app, and so easy to use, easy to navigate. You get all your player performances there, whether it's power play points like you got Giroux there plus 70, whether it's totals on the game at over 6 or over 6.5 goals total in a game, plus or negative odds there, and so much more. First to score, and you can player performances. You've got same game parlays, live in-game betting, you name it. It's all there. You can go old school as well and just bet puck lines or money lines, whatever you want to do. Check out the app. Check out the betPARX app. You're going to love how easy it is to use. And even if you're, a guy that hasn't really gotten into, the using the app to get your action, now's a great time to do it, because this is one that is not going to overwhelm you. It's the betPARX app. Make sure you download it in the App Store, either your iPhone or your Android. Put it on your phone, and it's everything you want in a mobile casino and sports book. And again, it's right in your pocket, so it's simple to use, easy to sign up, fun to use, and faster to win than ever before. And right now, all betPARX users, you get a $20. It's either choice of either a $20 casino bonus or a $20 sports book bonus. So again, download the betPARX app. Do it today. You do need to be over 21. You do need to be present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But check out the app. Use them on Tone's Takes as well, and you won't regret it. And you'll have a lot of fun with it as well. Makes watching games that maybe you wouldn't be interested in a lot more fun. Not to mention you got college hoops going on, the tournament. You've got both college or pro basketball and pro hockey, the remainder of the regular season into the playoffs, and baseball around the corner as well, with regular season not that far off. So again, check it out. betPARX app, simple to use, and you're going to love all the great features there as well. So take advantage of it, and take advantage of that $20 bonus on either the sports book or on the casino. Everybody, that's going to wrap up this edition of betPARX Presents Stick to Hockey Live. We'll have another brand new one for you coming up on Monday. Flyers in action tonight in St. Louis, back in action tomorrow in Colorado, and in action on Sunday in Nashville. So we'll have a lot to talk about over the next couple of days, and we'll talk about it all on a brand new edition of betPARX Presents Stick to Hockey Live coming up on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy your hockey, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.